Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight, and they did it! They did it! They did the one thing I did not want them to do to Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. The Rousey versus Lynch WrestleMania 35 train hasn't even pulled out of the station yet, and Vince McMahon has personally derailed it, and we are going to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw Elimination Chamber Go Home Show Review. Oh, let's do it. Yeah.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
All right, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me. The match-stealing, robe-wearing, peacock-feathered, wheeling and dealing daughter of the kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing son of a gun, Charlotte Flair, has made her entrance into the WrestleMania main event, which has been something I have been so against. You could feel it in the air all around you. Ever since the minute Becky Lynch won the Royal Rumble, all anybody could think was, well, of course it's going to be a triple threat. You gotta have Charlotte in the main event. You gotta have a Flair in the main event. For what fucking reason is she necessary? Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey have both played their parts perfectly, that we don't need a third party to make this match any bigger. Becky Lynch has got the crowd at her fingertips. Ronda Rousey was very over with the crowd. But Becky Lynch is so much more over that the crowd has started to boo Ronda Rousey, which is not something that you've really been hearing since she came to the WWE. And it's happened thanks to Becky Lynch. And what do we have to do? We have to have Charlotte in here for what reason? Because Vince McMahon needs to pud his little pecker, right? Because he needs to have his golden girl in there. For what reason? There are so many other things you could do with a Charlotte Flair that would be infinitely more interesting for her to have as a WrestleMania moment. You could do something interesting. You own the company, right? You could literally write your own rules like you do every single Monday night anyway. So why not do something special for Charlotte Flair? A co-main event for the women. You have Asuka versus Charlotte, the WrestleMania rematch for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. That's an easy one. I've outlined that one before. That's a go-to. That could definitely sell tickets. You could do something even bigger than that. You got Becky Lynch going up against Ronda Rousey. You could have Charlotte Flair in an interpromotional matchup taking on Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship that weekend. Why not? It's your company. Make the rules. Do something special. You don't want to have a title on the line. You don't want to have Shayna Baszler competing at a TakeOver and a WrestleMania. Why you wouldn't want that, I don't know. But if that's your reasoning behind it, then have a dream match. Charlotte Flair versus Kairi Sane. WWE versus NXT. WWE versus NXT UK. Charlotte Flair versus Toni Storm. Something different, something epic, something that would feel like WrestleMania. Adding her to a match that was already red hot as fire and we didn't even really get started yet is overkill. It's unnecessary, and it clearly points to the fact that Vince McMahon just needs to have his way. He wanted it to be Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. He got sidebarred by the WWE Universe and strong-armed into putting Becky Lynch where she belongs, like we did to Daniel Bryan 5 years ago, and he's still going to push what he wants. And now we have to live in fear that Charlotte Flair is going to be the one to win this first ever women's main event at WrestleMania and totally step on all of the hard work and all of the things that Becky Lynch has given to the professional wrestling world over the course of the last year and a half, maybe 2 full years. Am I wrong? Now, this is not me being anti-Charlotte Flair. Obviously, I want Charlotte Flair to have a big moment. I just gave you 3 other options than this. But what is the reason for this? Let's look at it from the outside, you guys. If they really wanted to do this and this was their end game all along, why didn't they go with a much more interesting thing and something that hasn't been done in a very long time and have Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch simultaneously eliminated from the Royal Rumble? Like they did with Bret Hart and Lex Luger. Like accidentally occurred with John Cena and Batista. It would be much more interesting. Now you would have a reason for these 2 girls to be involved on their way to WrestleMania. You would make it more intriguing. You would have to have them involved in matchups along the way. Both of them are going to be getting at each other, and they're both on SmackDown Live, so they could have actually stayed on their actual show. Why all of this stuff is happening on Monday Night Raw just because Ronda Rousey is there, I don't know. Why they can't keep it separate from the brands in order to make things more interesting, to create more tension, because it makes it more special every single time Ronda and Becky are in the same building. If you're going to do it every Monday and every Tuesday, how special is it by the time we get to WrestleMania? They're not using their heads. They're not doing what's right by all these girls. And they're ruining a WrestleMania main event. It's absolutely terrible. And the only reason I could say that they're doing it the way they're doing it is to have a reason to give us the McMahon Masterpiece fucking Theater Hour segments on Monday Night Raw. Why is Vince McMahon getting involved? He wasn't involved in the segment last week. He hasn't had anything to say on social media. He hasn't come out and filmed a little interview saying how pissed he is at Becky Lynch because he slapped his little girl in the face and he embarrassed his son-in-law, or she embarrassed his son-in-law last week on SmackDown Live as well. He's had no stake in this. He's had no interest in it. He's had nothing to do with it. But now, for seemingly no reason, she's being suspended for 60 days just because Vince McMahon says so. She never struck or attacked Vince McMahon, and he has no reason to punish her for something that she has already been forgiven. It didn't make sense. And all it does is put the McMahons on TV. You're making the Mr. McMahon character be hated again. They're really trying to drill this Becky Lynch as Stone Cold shit into the back of your head. So who's Charlotte Flair? Charlotte Flair will now be played by The Rock. Or vice versa. I'm sorry, The Rock will now be played by Charlotte Flair as Vince McMahon has chosen her as his corporate representative. And we're going back down this fucking road? Why are the McMahons involved? Because it's going to be historic, that's why. It's going to be a first ever. It's going to be a big publicity piece. It's going to empower women, and it's going to get all these women's groups to be all happy about, oh, look what the WWE is doing in their perception of women. And yet on the same show, you're going to give me Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross, the way that came out tonight. You're going to give me a triple threat tag team matchup between 3 tag teams that have so many storylines going on outside of what's actually important, which is the tag team championships, which are going to be crowned for the first time. And this is what is so different about women's wrestling now than it was 3 years ago? What has evolved? What revolutionary changes were made by this woman's revolution? We're still getting the same old tired formulaic bullshit. We're still getting the McMahons putting themselves in the top programs leading into WrestleMania for what? Do you think we need McMahons in here too? Not only do we need to add Charlotte Flair, but we're going to need to add Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon and even Triple H. Because we don't really have faith in the 2 girls that need to be represented in the main event of WrestleMania. That's what I see. What do you see? You see a great triple threat main event? Sure, I'm not telling you it's going to be a bad match. What I'm saying is that if you look at the WWE year from last WrestleMania to this WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair does not need to be challenging for the Raw Women's Championship. She has little to almost nothing to do with Ronda Rousey until the last couple of months. And she's been hurt for majority of the year. Whereas Becky Lynch had her face broken by Nia Jax on this road. She's had to fight and scratch and claw her way to get this win at the Royal Rumble and make her path to WrestleMania 35, as she clearly stated in the opening of the show tonight. And then what do we have? We have Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. All they want is an apology. Oh, I just want you to apologize. All you need to do is apologize, and we'll give you everything that you want. We'll give you everything that you already earned. We're not playing the evil bosses. All we want is to apologize. I apologize to you. Please apologize to me, and I will allow you to do what you've already been placed to do. It's just so much overkill. And you put so much emphasis on this fucking injured leg as the reasoning for you not wanting Becky Lynch in the main event if you're Vince or Stephanie or Triple H. And now it's just okay. Now it's just okay. 7 days later, she went to her own doctors. Her doctors called your doctors. We'll have your people call our people, and my people will call your people, and we're all going to agree that everything's okay. So what the fuck was the point? What was the point? And you're wrapping everything up so quickly, and we still have almost 2 months to go to WrestleMania. Does Raw even really give a shit about the Elimination Chamber? Look at the matches we're getting on the Raw side for the Elimination Chamber. The only 2 matches that we know of right now, as we are 6 days away from the Elimination Chamber, is an Intercontinental Championship matchup that I could really care less about, and Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott. And it was made with 6 days' notice. I don't think they give a shit about the Elimination Chamber. All you heard all night long was WrestleMania, WrestleMania, WrestleMania. They've already got their eyes on WrestleMania. But what is the one thing we've heard about WrestleMania? It's only been about those 2 matches. It's been about the Women's Championship, Ronda and Becky, and it's been about Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. And by the time this whole opening segment was over, I was about as mad as Seth Rollins was tonight at Paul Heyman. Seth Rollins decided to show up to work tonight, alright? So he took 6 F5s, and he's still here, he says. You couldn't get the job done, I'm still here. And he gave a really impassioned promo. And then you had Paul Heyman come out, and Paul Heyman, to me, seemingly only has 1 fucking page to go to anymore. I feel like the guy stopped being creative and stopped writing new shit. Because ever since he's come back with Brock Lesnar, he said what he said tonight to Seth Rollins almost verbatim to every fucking person that has gone up against his beast. He said the same words to Daniel Bryan. Oh, you're one of, if not the best in the world right now. I respect you. I this, I that. Hyping up the opponent in the same exact way every single time. Daniel Bryan got it. AJ Styles got it. Finn Balor got it. And now he's using the exact same terminologies, the exact same psychology to try to get in the head. And it's just so boring. Was it boring to you? It was boring to me. Seth Rollins didn't even seem interested. And then his retort to Paul Heyman. I will go to hell. I will sell my soul. All these really cliche lines. That's not what Seth Rollins would say. That's what he was scripted to say by these really lame creative writers who have nothing better in their bag of quips than to pull out cliches for Seth Rollins. I will give him credit for his lines about Brock Lesnar essentially holding the Universal Championship hostage over the last 2 years, and he's not going to take it anymore. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. We know this already. We know this already. I didn't really care about this segment. It was just a lot of fluff and a lot of promotional stuff for a match that's going to be better than anything that we see leading up to it. When Seth Rollins gets in the ring with Brock Lesnar, we're going to be treated to a great match for the Universal Championship. Seth Rollins hopefully will have his day. Brock Lesnar will have his comeuppance. And all will be right in the WWE Universe, as Raw will actually have a champion. Which will be great, if that's the road we go down. But if tonight is any sign of how they're going to choose to build this thing, then we've already seen everything we need to see. That interview with Paul Heyman was enough. I don't need to hear it again and again and again over the next 8 weeks until we get to WrestleMania. The same shtick over and over. Seth Rollins is one of the best in the world. Maybe the very best. But Brock Lesnar is a beast. He's an animal. Same shit over and over. The one cool line Paul Heyman delivered is that Seth Rollins says Seth Rollins, if you challenge my beast for the Universal Championship, you will be the architect of your own demise. Great line. I wonder who wrote it for him. It was the only original fucking line he had in his entire promo. Paul Heyman can spin circles around me with promos. I'm not being disrespectful, and I understand that the guy's one of the best, but talk about phoning it in. For the last year, have you heard anything different? You think I'm lying? Go back and check it out for yourself. If you know I'm not lying, then you're shaking your head like this right now, like you normally do when you watch the show, because I am here to tell you guys the obvious. And in case you missed it, let me be the one to bring it back to your attention. Just like I'm going to bring attention to the Boston. Let's try again. The Boston. God damn it, you guys! I will never be able to say their tag team names. Sasha Banks and Bayley go up against the Riot Squad and the world's worst tag team, maybe even worse than the McMiz bullshit on SmackDown Live, Nia Jax and Tamina. And I hate saying this about them because any of my fans know that have watched me for a long time. This is something that I actually pitched. This is something that I thought would actually be a good idea, is to take two blood relatives and team them together in some sort of a faction type mentality and, you know, see where it goes. Unfortunately, I actually put my faith in the WWE creative to make it interesting. But what they're doing with Nia Jax and Tamina is just put you to sleep type shit, man. Their little vignette promo that they had show up during this triple threat tag team match almost put me to sleep. It literally did. It was the most obviously read thing that I've ever heard on a Monday Night Raw, especially when they came to their closing line. We're going to turn the Elimination Chamber into the Samoan slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse? You calling yourselves cows there? I didn't say it. They said slaughterhouse. What goes into a slaughterhouse? Cows. Okay? By your own definition, you just called yourselves a couple of cows, and you've referred to every woman in the division as a cow going into this chamber. The Samoan. Samoan. Why are they going to say it like that? Samoan. The Samoan slaughterhouse. Get the fuck out of here with that. They couldn't even time that good. They were so bad. They are so bad. And I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Sometimes, you know, even a guy like me has a bad idea once in a while. And this tag team was definitely a bad idea. And the other thing that makes it even worse is for some damn reason, the WWE, Vince McMahon, whoever it is that's in charge of what's going on with the women, have a thing for Nia Jax. They love Nia Jax. Why? Why? Because she's the biggest girl in the division? You don't treat her like that. You make her act like a moron. She comes off like a giant, oversized Alicia Fox 9 out of 10 times. She can't say her lines. She can't wrestle. So where is her value? Because she's a pretty girl who weighs more than 100 pounds? So we're going to push her just to push her to say, look at us as a company. Look at this company. They love everyone. They're diverse. They have a gigantic Samoan in the women's division. And she's beautiful. Sure, she's a good-looking broad. She's a beautiful woman. Doesn't mean she can wrestle. How good do the looks of Eva Marie do? How much are the looks of Mandy Rose helping? No matter how good you look. Alexa Bliss is the hottest girl on the roster. I don't even remember how she wrestles. It's been so goddamn long. And when she does wrestle, it ain't much. So she's obviously not that good. Or as good as she used to be, because she's out of practice. But Nia Jax and Tamina are coming off as like the figureheads of the women's tag team division already. You have a team like Sasha and Bayley, the Boston... I thought I would try one more time, but it just didn't work out. Who are probably the first tag team in the women's division. Before there was the Iconics, before there was any thought of a women's tag team division, you had Sasha and Bayley out there fighting against the Bellas, and sisters don't count, alright? So don't give me all the Bella twins are the first tag team. No, they weren't. They were the first twins in wrestling, and they weren't a tag team for a very long time. They didn't ever win tag team championships, and they were more often than not one of the other's manager, more than anything. But as far as a legit tag team, Sasha and Bayley were it. If they don't win this thing, it's a travesty. And not because I'm a big mark for Sasha or Bayley, but because out of everybody involved in this thing, these two girls are the best two wrestlers in the field. And you could take a look at what happened in the match tonight as proof. Now, while I don't agree with this whole Sasha Banks is hurt thing, and I don't know if it's legit, and they're just trying to keep her as healthy as possible until Sunday because she's actually nursing a few injuries, or if this is some bullshit storyline just like they're trying to do with Becky Lynch, and then it's going to lead to what? The breaking up of Sasha and Bayley, something that should have happened 8 months ago. They wanted to reference it tonight on Monday Night Raw. You had Bayley talking about, oh, look at what we've been through. We were friends, and then we had, problems, and then we went to Dr. Shelby, and now here we are, and we're going to be women's tag team champions, and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the ring, and Sasha Banks ends up getting hurt midway through this thing, and taken away by WWE medical staff, leaving Bayley by herself to try to win this matchup, where the winner gets nothing, by the way. They did not make it clear or did not state that the winner will be the final team entering the cage or anything like that. They said the loser of this match was to be the first to enter the chamber this Sunday at the Women's Tag Team Coronation Chamber match. Now, the winner gets nothing. No advantage, no disadvantage, but you obviously don't want to be the one to lose this matchup. And this match was boring as fuck until all of a sudden Bayley tags herself into this matchup without Sasha Banks after she was taken away from ringside and just single-handedly took care of almost everybody in the ring. She was very, very impressive. She flowed in the ring very nicely. Even though everybody she was in there was subpar of a performer, she made that match. Bayley made that match exciting towards the end, and all you wanted to do was see Bayley, without a partner, be the one to win this matchup. And would it have killed you to have Tamina take the pin? Why would we not want to see the two biggest girls in the match for the longest amount of time? Do you know why they did this? Do you know why Nia Jax and Tamina will be the last team, probably, of all the teams? because they are the worst two wrestlers. And you don't want them in there for the longest amount of time, hurting more and more people. Just ask Becky Lynch about that, or any of the numerous other girls that have felt the wrath of the Nia Jax bug. I'm not really looking forward to this women's Elimination Chamber thing. I feel like they dropped the ball with the Women's Tag Team Championships just by putting it in this chamber. Now, you could think, well, the chamber is brutal and it gives 6 teams a chance, and you could try to give me all the pros about it, but the cons definitely outweigh the pros. It just seems like it was thrown together. You have a couple of makeshift tag teams in there that have no chemistry at all in the ring. We haven't seen anything from them. It's only started to come together in the last couple of weeks. They didn't take it seriously, even though they've known they were going to do this for months now. And all they had to do was make a tournament, put it on a network special, and then have the final matchup at WrestleMania. You could have started it now. You could have filmed 10 weeks of TV. You could have included NXT tag teams. You could have included NXT UK women's tag teams. Pair together whoever the fuck you want to pair together. Come up with 16 teams. Whittle them down over the course of the last couple of weeks like you did with the Cruiserweight Classic and the Mae Young Classic. And you have the final round with the 2 final teams facing off at WrestleMania to crown the first ever women's champions. How is that not the way to go? Instead, we just got to get it over with, so we're going to throw everybody in a women's fucking chamber because we don't know what else to do with the chamber. Right? We don't have any other people that might want to wrestle in the chamber. We don't have another division or any other belts. Maybe the United States Championship. You can have a United States Championship match. You got a lot of people in the mix for that. You could have had Rusev and Shinsuke and R-Truth and Andrade and anybody you wanted in there. Rey Mysterio. That would have been an interesting 6-man elimination chamber. But no! We're going to take 6 women's tag teams that don't mean jack shit and just give them these beautiful fucking belts, probably the best looking belts on the roster right now, outside of Daniel Bryan's hemp belt. And for what? Where's it gonna go? Who the hell knows? Probably nowhere, just like tonight's Monday Night Raw went absolutely nowhere. Going up and down this card is fucking useless. It's useless. When you have Elias out there, sitting out there for God knows how long, they tell you this guy's coming out. Michael Cole's like, up next, Elias, blah. Right, then we get a commercial break. We come back, we see Finn Balor talking to Becky Lynch, telling her maybe she should just apologize and get what she deserves and blah, blah, blah. Talking to her former mentor. Good solid 3 or 4 minutes. By the time we got back to Elias, this guy's sitting out there in the ring for 10 minutes doing absolutely nothing. And then we have him start his thing. Hello, my name is Elias. You know somebody's going to come out and interrupt him. And, oh, God, if you thought Jeff Jarrett and the Road Dogg were bad, here come the Lucha House Party coming out with their little piñata party things. And for what? What the fuck have they had to do with Elias at all over the last couple of weeks? Nothing. Nothing. So they're just going to come out and decide to party, right? They want to party. Maybe they wanted to walk with Elias. Who the hell cares? This was useless, this was way too long, and this was just filler. And this is just more proof that the WWE is clueless and doesn't give a shit about wrestling and don't know what to do with a guy like Elias. You have him come out there tonight, offer his guitar to somebody, right? He gives his guitar to Kalisto to play a fucking couple of notes. The guy barely knows how to play guitar. He strummed an A chord, which he probably learned right before going out, and then got bashed in the head with another guitar that Elias had in the ring. And now what are we going to have? A feud between Kalisto and Elias? That's what I wanted to see from Elias. That's what was missing. A feud with a guy who walks around with a piñata. And 2 other guys that have their own piñatas. And all they want to do is have a house party. I don't need this. Elias doesn't need this, and neither do you. If you are one of the lucky few that decided not to watch this show, I envy you tremendously. And I thank you for coming here to find out what the hell happened. But really, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. By the way, I was so pissed off about that women's triple threat match. I forgot to tell you the obvious, which was, by the way, Nia Jax and Tamina won that match, which is why I went off on them so bad. Didn't make any sense. Bayley was on fire. She should have won that match. Would have gave her a tremendous bump. Would have been a great victory. And where are they going? Where are they going? Who cares? Who cares? We're past it now. Let's not go back there. It just makes me so mad. I can't even deal with it. Elias and Lucia House Party. Garbage. Garbage. Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor with Lashley and Lio Rush at ringside. Just put me to sleep. Put me to sleep right now. Why don't you just make me drink a bottle of NyQuil? You are wasting away. Guys like Finn Balor and Drew McIntyre, they go out there and they're trying their best to put on a good match, but you already know what's going to happen because Bobby fucking Lashley's out there sitting like a giant ball of milk duds with his little puppy buddy hopping around on him on the outside. And the old milk dud, Bobby Trashley, gets the hell up and gets himself involved in this matchup, which we all already knew was going to happen. But then it gets worse. Then it gets infinitely worse. We have, who was the first? We have Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre beating down Finn Balor. And then we have, go home, go home. Kurt Angle comes out. This guy was on the verge of hanging up his boots last week. Said he didn't have it left. Said he had nothing left in him. Said he can't do it. But now he's coming out here throwing hands and saving Finn Balor's ass. And he's going to go on to have a match. We'll get to that in a minute. Because now that Kurt Angle leaving the score, we have to ruin it even more. And even though we got this far without seeing his ridiculously stupid, bald, bellhop wearing head, Constable Corbin Dickhead traipses his way out to the ring and sticks his nose into this thing. And then, I mean, you already know. With every dumbass that comes out, you know the next dumbass that's going to follow. And the next dumbass was Braun Strowman. So Strowman comes out. He clears the ring of everybody. Next thing you know, you got Balor and Strowman in the ring with Angle, and you got McIntyre on the outside with the other two, and they go to commercial, and I'm just sitting here with my hammer, and I'm just praying, and I'm just saying to myself, please don't be a six-man tag. Please don't be a six-man tag. I felt like the fucking Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks. But instead of that, I was, please don't be a six-man tag. Please don't be a six-man tag. Please don't be. Please don't be. Please don't be a six-man tag. And what happens? And what happens? We come back from commercial. We're in the middle of a six-man tag. Despite my best efforts to pray and hope to the wrestling gods that they weren't going to do what they thought they were going to do, what I knew they were going to do. And I prayed as hard as I could for you guys. I swear to God I did. But it just didn't get us anywhere. The wrestling gods decided to not answer my prayers because Vince McMahon is the devil. And he has nothing better to put over or to get you excited about an Intercontinental Championship matchup that's happening in 6 days than to place it in a six-man tag with 4 people out of the 6 that nobody wants to see anymore. Do you give a fuck about Braun Strowman? Do you honestly care? Do you honestly believe he's half of the force that he used to be in the WWE? Because if you do, you would be wrong. I'm sorry to be the one to inform you, but you, my friend, are wrong about that. We all already know nobody gives 2 craps about Constable Corbin Dickhead until he starts to dress like a wrestler again. I definitely don't want to see him. Maybe let a couple of pubes grow back on the top of his head. Maybe get a wig like Kurt Angle. Maybe wear a hat. Bro, get a do-rag or something. You want me to give you my hat? I'm not giving you this one. I just bought this hat. This fucking hat is beautiful. But I got some fucking hats. You want to wear a Dean Ambrose hat? I got that. He's going to be leaving soon. Right? So you could wear that. You could use the DA as your symbol for Dickhead Corbin. I know, there's not an A in there, but still you make it work. The Dickhead Asylum. The only 2 people worth watching are Finn Balor and Drew McIntyre. This was the match we were supposed to get. It was a match I would love to see. But we were going in cold. No real build. No real reason for them to be fighting tonight. I don't know. It just absolutely angered me to no end. It turned into the 6-man tag. It ended up being an absolutely meaningless matchup. The winner was Finn Balor overall. Finn Balor hits the coup de grace, very beautiful execution of the coup de grace, to bring this boring-ass match to a final end. And he hits the coup de grace on Bobby Lashley and gets the pin on the Intercontinental Champion. What does that mean to you? Do you know what that means to me? That means I better start praying right now. Because if my prayers for tonight didn't work, maybe I should start praying now for Sunday. So that Finn Balor walks out of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view event with the Intercontinental Championship wrapped around his waist. By him getting the pin tonight, you have got to believe, in true predictable WWE fashion, that boring trashly, the old milk dud Bobby Lashley is going to end up retaining the championship. Finn Balor pinned him clean tonight. He's got to get his retribution. He's got to get his win back, and it's going to come in the Intercontinental Championship matchup, unless my prayers do work and somehow Finn Balor finds a way to pin Lio Rush, which I guess is going to be a thing since he has to face the two of them at the Elimination Chamber for the Intercontinental Championship. That's our best hope. That's our best hope. Otherwise, Bobby Lashley is going to walk away still our Intercontinental Champion. But we'll talk more about that on Friday with the Elimination Chamber preview and prediction show. You want to talk about predictions? I would have never been able to predict to you what we saw out of Kevin Owens tonight. We got a promo out of Kevin Owens tonight. Kevin Owens was sitting at a bowling alley with his family, which is fantastic. That's something that I do all the time. But he really didn't say shit. He really didn't say anything. He told us he's coming back in about a month. He don't know where he's going. He has nobody in mind. You know, he didn't bring up somebody's name. He didn't say, listen, it doesn't matter where I'm going. I'm coming for you. He didn't say he's coming for a championship. He didn't say he was coming for anything. He just said he's coming back. And then he tried to be a badass and bowl a strike and threw a gutter ball. So Kevin Owens made himself look like a goofball tonight. And essentially told us we got to wait another month until the Kevin Owens show returns to wherever it is he's going to be returning. So, great segment, right? Nikki Cross versus Ruby Riott. Bonus points here for Ruby Riott actually coming out without the Riott Squad for a one-on-one matchup. Mega negative points for A, booking Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross without any story behind it. You have two of the most intriguing looking, the most intriguing acting, the most intriguing all-around females that you have on your entire roster. And you couldn't get anything mustered up between these two. You had to feed Nikki Cross to Ruby Riott, which is B. Not only did you book this match, but you fed a brand new, somewhat buzzing Nikki Cross to Ruby Riott. On the surface, you might say that's not a bad thing. Ruby Riott's been on Raw for the last year. She's a solid talent. She's the best part of the Riott Squad, and she deserves to get wins. Especially since the WWE wants to put her up against Ronda Rousey this Sunday with 6 days' notice. But Ruby Riott pinning Nikki Cross tonight was wrong. It was wrong for Nikki Cross. They are doing what they do to NXT superstars when they bring them up. They have these people with all this promise, this fresh blood, and there's Nikki Cross laying on her back. After a very good match, which the crowd fell asleep on, by the way, thanks to Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch preempting this matchup with a backstage altercation. The match was good between these two girls. You wouldn't be able to tell if you were listening to the crowd. And it deserves so much more to be put behind it. It could have been something special. But instead it's just a throwaway match to make Ruby Riott look like an imposing threat to Ronda Rousey by taking out the wild and crazy and unpredictable Nikki Cross, and that was a bad move. Was there not anybody else you could have put her up against? You could have put her up against Alicia Fox and somebody else and made her win, and I would be less angry than I am at what they did tonight with Nikki Cross. And that would be pretty angry. You know how I feel when they put Alicia Fox on my TV at all. But I would have taken that in lieu of this. And the crowd being asleep during this match, I don't understand. I love this pairing between these two girls, and this was something I was hoping to see at a big event, something like a WrestleMania, or, you know, even leading up to it, Fastlane, Elimination Chamber, something interesting. No. Instead, it's just a throwaway match on a Monday Night Raw to put over Ruby Riott as she's on the road to Ronda Rousey. Very, very disrespectful to Nikki Cross in my eyes. We talked about Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman at the beginning of the show. We're not going to go back over that, but we have to address the fact that Dean Ambrose came out. We were just talking about him with my hat, my Dean Ambrose hat. And Dean Ambrose came out and he's not wearing his Bane coats anymore, I guess. He's got these weird black gloves on. He comes out to confront Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose has been a bad guy for the longest time, and then last week he suddenly turned into a good guy and lost to EC3 in a very unceremonious fashion. And now tonight he comes out, he tells Seth Rollins, I got just one thing to say to you. Slay the beast. That's exactly how he phrased it. That's not me and my New York accent just coming out. That's how he said, I got one thing to say to you. Slay the beast. Slay the beast. And then he walked out of the ring and went to go sit by the timekeeper and the ring bell ringer guy. And that was it. And that was it. Then we went to commercial. And we're going to come back and we're getting ready to see Dean Ambrose in action. And we come back to Monday Night Raw and they give us an interview with the Iconics. And my brain's like, why is Dean Ambrose's music playing but I'm hearing the Iconics? What is going on? Whoever was in charge of the structure of tonight's show, the timing, the pacing, the product placement, the ad placement, the promo placement, they either are severely on some heavy, heavy drugs or they just are really, really bad at producing television. The flow to tonight was awful, and that was just one of the many, many things I could bring to your attention. Putting that spot in there when we're already waiting for the matchup, that's not how we used to do things back in the day. If you remember, if you're a guy like me and you remember watching Superstars or even early editions of Monday Night Raw, you would either have a relevant person speaking over somebody that is on the screen, like, say, Shawn Michaels doing a promo on Tatanka while Tatanka's having a match with Tito Santana or something to that nature. You wouldn't just have this randomness, and more often than not, if you had a promo segment, it would be aired as soon as you came back from TV. We would have came back from commercial, we could have heard the Iconics, and then we would have got Dean Ambrose coming out for his match, and like that's how things are structured. But instead, you just popping things here and there. It's almost as if they forgot to air that segment, and they're like, oh shit, we got the Iconics thing, we forgot. Oh, Ambrose is sitting out there, tell him to wait 2 minutes, we're going to roll this clip. Totally out of context. It just doesn't flow the way it used to, and it doesn't make sense. It is not an energy drink, by the way. That is just a Diet Coke. So everybody take it easy. I don't drink that shit. It's not good for your liver. Stay away from all that shit, you guys. Public service announcement, because I love my fans, just for the day. So we have Ambrose in a rematch with EC3. This match was fucking boring. The crowd is definitely not connecting with EC3. And that's the WWE's fault. They brought him up too soon. The guy barely connected with the NXT crowd, and the NXT crowd loves everybody. Okay, so him coming up and having no reaction almost every single time he's been on Monday Night Raw over the last couple of weeks is a clear indication to me that they are already failing with EC3. And then you put him in a match tonight with a Dean Ambrose that I did not recognize in the ring. It almost seems to me like, and I'm not reaching and I'm not trying to make more out of this than it actually is, but as I'm watching this matchup, I feel in my head, like it just seems like Ambrose is just going through the motions. He's just going through the motions. You know, it's like he's already checked out. It's like he knows he's not re-signing, and he's just going to do what he's got to do until he got to leave. Because it just seemed like he didn't care. And he won. And he won this matchup. He got his win back over EC3. So now, on the other hand, you can say, well, he just lost to EC3 last week. Everybody's saying, oh, Dean Ambrose is definitely leaving. But now he got his win back. Why would he need to get a win back if he was on his way out the door? So it's still really all speculation. It could still all be a work as far as Dean Ambrose leaving the company is concerned. But the way I seen this guy tonight definitely does not remind me of the Dean Ambrose that I enjoyed. Doesn't look like the Dean Ambrose that came back to the WWE, ready to go, and then was inserted into the Shield reunion to get over Roman Reigns. And since then, nothing has been the same for Dean Ambrose. And if he is on his way out, this was definitely one very big statement in the way he performed tonight, because he didn't seem to care. I certainly didn't care. No one in the arena cared. I'd like to know if you did. So please make sure you leave that comment down in the comment section below. Let me know if you gave a shit about that or anything at all from tonight, because there's not really much to give a shit about. At least we didn't have a moment of bliss. But we did get to see Alexa Bliss backstage talking to Becky Lynch for a hot minute. And it wasn't just a hot minute because they're the two hottest broads in all of wrestling at the moment. But it was Alexa Bliss trying to play a little bit of mind games with Becky Lynch, trying to tell her that she shouldn't apologize. You know, she should stand her ground and stick to her guns and stick it to the man. You know what I'm saying? Not Becky Lynch the man, but, you know, the corporation the man. And it was very, very transparent. Becky Lynch saw right through it. She said, you just want me to do that, so they take the match from me, and now the match is up for grabs, and you could insert your biscuit butt right into the picture, and she wasn't going to fall for that either. All of this drama over a fucking apology all night on a pro wrestling show. This is a wrestling show where we settle things in the ring with our fists, but we need apology. I need an apology. I want an apology. The Raw Tag Team titles were defended tonight as advertised from last week. The Revival gets their umpteenth thousandth fucking chance to beat the Glorious Gables. And guess what? They finally did. Holy shit. I feel like the road to this night was way too long. Was very poorly put together. And although this was a really good tag team match for a Monday Night Raw tag team division matchup, you don't see matches like this in the Raw tag team division. It was given a decent amount of time. It was actually for the titles. It was a nice showing by all four men. They did a very good job. They pulled off some good stuff. The Revival looked a little bit more like the Revival of old during this matchup, and they hit a shatter machine from the top rope, which is what ended up securing this thing for them by the end. But is it really too late, is my question, because I'm one of the biggest Revival fans ever, and this victory seems somewhat muted to me because it should have came many, many months ago. And there's a somewhat bad taste in my mouth because there's so many people out there that today are going to tell you that the Revival only won the Tag Team Championships thanks to AEW. And while that may be a very big factor in the frame of mind, in the direction of where they're going with the Revival, I don't truly think that has as much to do with it as it seems. Whereas I know that WWE doesn't want to lose talent, but Vince McMahon and his staff are not ones to bend just to appease a superstar. More often than not, the superstar is the one that ends up having to do the bending, if you know what I mean. But on a more serious note, it will be interesting to see where it goes. We have to take it one day at a time. If we come to next week and the Revival end up losing the titles to fucking Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, getting Kurt Hawkins his first win in 2 years, and it's going to be for championships for the former Edgeheads, then, you know, the Revival is still probably well on their way out the door. But we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it is thanks to AEW. What do I know? I can't believe that the WWE would change storylines and directions and where they're going to appease one or two particular superstars. That's not their MO. That's not how it works. But it very well could be the case. And the show came to an end tonight the same way we began. We had Becky and the McMahons, Part 2. Will Becky Lynch apologize? And it took too long to get to, but Becky Lynch did apologize to Triple H and Stephanie, taking the high road, taking the advice of her mentor Finn Balor, and doing the right thing. And in fact, I thought it was the right decision as well. But you had to feel some sort of a swerve coming, and it didn't come from Triple H. It didn't come from Stephanie McMahon. But as we talked about pretty much for the majority of this show, we had Vince McMahon come out and fucking destroy everything. The man suspends Becky Lynch for 60 days and substitutes her with Charlotte Flair for that main event match at WrestleMania. Now, I'm not an idiot, and I know you're not an idiot either. And we all know that this is professional wrestling, and we all know on which road we are on. And somehow, some way, Becky Lynch is going to get inserted back into this match, and we are going to get this triple threat. By doing this, you made it very predictable. For what fucking reason are we going to have a birthday party for Ric Flair in 2 weeks? Is it some sort of a, milestone number? No. What did they say, 72? It's not usually the time you throw a big celebration. Although once you hit your 70s, every birthday is probably a big celebration because you're not sure if you're going to make it to the next one. But it's clear as fucking day to me, and I'm calling it right now. And you can tell the world you heard it right here. Becky Lynch is going to smash up Ric Flair's birthday party, a la Stone Cold Steve Austin, because they just need to do things they've already done and not do anything interesting. If you didn't hate Vince McMahon before tonight and you were a big fan of Becky Lynch, you're definitely hating on him tonight. And in one instance, I have to give him credit, because in one fell swoop, he has turned the attention on himself, and at the same time has turned Charlotte Flair probably into the most hated woman in all of professional wrestling right now, which is a good thing to do. It's going to generate heat, it's going to create more interest, and it's going to make things interesting to see how Becky Lynch finds her way back into this. And while on the surface I'm not happy with it, we're just going to accept it and see where they go with it. They could have done it so much more interesting, and they could have done it without any McMahon type of involvement. And I think I would have been much better with it, even though any of my fans can tell you, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mike, but I don't want Charlotte in this matchup. It is completely unnecessary. And while it's going to do wonders for the story, which we still have 2 months, like I said, why did they have to do this so soon? They could have let Becky and Ronda really start to build and make this match feel like everybody already felt it was. Make it even bigger and more epic than it ever could have been. And then insert Charlotte, maybe after the Elimination Chamber, maybe at the Fastlane pay-per-view, and build it from there. Would have been more impactful. But you're doing things so quickly and so fast that you're not giving anything time to be organic or generic and come together and let us get our heads around it before you start switching and changing things up. Maybe that's why we all feel so frazzled all the time, because things are just changing by the second on Monday Night Raw. I don't like that they did this, but we all knew this was coming. So how mad could I really be? I told you guys this was the end result, and here we are. And that was Monday Night Raw's go-home show for the Elimination Chamber. Not much about the Elimination Chamber at all being discussed. Why they didn't do the Tag Team Championship matchup on the Elimination Chamber, I'll never know. Probably would have just been relegated to the pre-show anyway, but that was a big moment, right? Big moments should happen at pay-per-views, not just on a random Monday Night Raw go-home show when you got 6 days till a big show. That's what... Am I making sense? I don't know. You guys let me know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight on another edition of our Monday Night Raw review for this February the 12th, 11th. It's the 12th now, but it was the 11th. February 11th, 2018. Thank you guys. I can't thank you enough. The subscribers keep rolling in. We are growing and growing and growing, and it's all thanks to you, my brothers and sisters and sledgeheads one and all. We are continuing our march to rule the world, and it all begins with a super awesome, smart and intelligent and respectful wrestling fan just like you. If you enjoyed today's show at any point and you are still here at the 55-minute mark, it's your job to subscribe to this channel, because I know you will be coming back for more. And another good reason to subscribe is so that you do not miss anything this week, as the Elimination Chamber is rolling into town, and we are your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. We will have the preview and prediction show for the Elimination Chamber coming up this Friday, as we are leading into the event on Sunday, which we will be reviewing, as always, immediately following the show. So make sure you're subscribed and you ring that notification button so that you don't miss anything that we got going down here on Sledgehammer TV. Smash that like button. If I made you giggle, if I made you smirk or laugh just at least one time, hit that like button, because I deserve it. Even if you hated the majority of the review, but I made you laugh one time, that deserves a thumbs up. So hit that thumbs up. Let's try to hit that 100 like mark for the first time in 2019, maybe the first time ever. I got to go back and check the stats, but that's the goal for every video. So you guys should be hitting those thumbs up for me to show your support for this channel. And then, to help us grow, share this video everywhere you can on social media all over the world with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they know that this Monday Night Raw was your standard Monday Night Raw piece of shit, and they need somewhere to vent their frustrations, and there is nowhere better to do that than in the comment section of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, which is an open forum for all wrestling fans. Just keep it clean, keep it respectful, and be nice to each other, because we, like Bill and Ted, are excellent to each other here. And if you step outside the line, you'll just find yourself outside the box. It's very easy. It's one button I push, and pooh! You're out of here. So be a human being. All right, and let's have some thoughtful discussion and debate in that comment section. I always love to read your guys' comments. It's one of the best parts of my Tuesdays. As I'm stuck at work all day, I read those comment sections, and I try to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. You guys, another way you can support the channel, as always, is to check out our sponsors over at Audible. Audible have over 180,000 books that speak to you, whether you want to hear some wrestling stuff, whether you want some sci-fi, maybe you want to learn a second language, maybe you want to get your romance on, you know, maybe you need to dim the lights, turn on some candles, and get your little, you know, and do your little thing. You need a book to listen to get you in the mood. Audible has got you covered. You can go and get a free audiobook right now, just for being a fan of Sledgehammer TV and joining us here tonight on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Go to audibletrial.com/SledgehammerTV right now to get a 30-day free trial and one free audiobook of your choosing. Cancel this subscription at any time before the 30 days are up, and you can still keep that audiobook for free and never pay a dime, and you could listen to it over and over again, whether you have to diddle yourself or whether you're going to work every day on the train and you want to listen to Jim Ross tell you about his life in wrestling, or AJ Mendez Brooks talking about her superpower being absolutely crazy. We got you covered. That's audibletrial.com/SledgehammerTV right now. That's audibletrial.com/SledgehammerTV. And the other way you can support us, which is completely optional, is to support us on our Patreon page. We are on Patreon. Just look up the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show or Sledgehammer TV. I got to double check that. Either way, you will find us there. We are on Patreon. If you have it in your hearts to give us your donations there, we are working and are in progress of many different productions that are going to finally be added to the Patreon site. I can't really do much video, so we're probably going to get a lot of audio specials up there just to get you guys some value for your buck. And we will be adding new tiers throughout the year as we continue to grow and want to make this show one of the best shows on the planet and make it completely special for you guys. If you have any requests or ideas for what you would like as a reward from Patreon. Feel free to share that with me, and we might be able to make some of those things an actual reality. Plus, I'm having a hard time coming up with shit to give you guys that won't absolutely take every single waking minute and moment of my time as we continue our training at House of Glory, and I don't have as much time as I used to. And I might actually implement that onto the Patreon site if I can find a way to actually get some footage, because we're quite often not allowed to film what we're doing. But I'm going to try to keep you guys more abreast, and that probably will be going on the Patreon site, but that's completely audible. It's not completely audible. Audible's another sponsor, but that's completely optional. And you guys all know how this shtick works, because we all do it here on YouTube. So make sure you're following us everywhere you can. You can check us out on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify as well, if you want to take us with you on the go, or in your iPads, iPods, this, that, Kindles, Fires, whatever it is you listen to us on. We are there for you everywhere you could find us all over the world. You guys, we have been rambling on for an hour. Let's get this shit over with. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and the Wrestling God of Thunder. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. You guys are always the most important member of the team here at the one and only Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Thank you for all the love and support, and that, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you tomorrow night for SmackDown Live right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, right here on Sledgehammer TV, only on YouTube.com, where the hammer comes down. A boom.